Hello and welcome to the Learning Love podcast. I'm Dr. Mark A. Hicks, author of the book Learning Love. It is possible to build the healthy, happy, thriving relationships you have always wanted. So let's spend some time learning love. Love is the answer. Now all we have to do is explore all the questions. And today I have a very special story to tell you. This particular episode will air for the first time on June the 9th of 2025. Now, of course, things live on the internet forever. I don't know when you're listening to this, but it will originally air on June the 9th of 2025. The next day, June the 10th, 2025, my book, Learning Love, is released to the world by Morgan James Publishing. It's something that I've dreamed of for a long time. It's been a long journey, and I want to talk about that journey today, because there are some life lessons that came in the publication of this book that teach about relationships. I've learned some things about relationships in publishing this book, which is kind of an irony, I guess, because it's a book about relationships, but the publication of the book itself has taught me some things and shown me some things about the nature of relationships in life. And so let me tell you a little bit about how this all came about and what I've learned in the process. And I think you'll be able to apply that to your life as well, because when we learn these life lessons about relationships, we can apply them to build those healthy relationships that we're looking for. Now, this book came about over a long course of time because I've had this idea for a very long time. I'm not even sure where it started, but I had the idea for the book, and over the years, I tried to write. I wrote and rewrote, sometimes in my head, sometimes on paper. I would work at it, and it just sort of came together in pieces over the course of a long period of time, many, many years, that I would start and stop and think about it and go back and rewrite things. And finally, I was to a place that I was really making some progress. About the same time that I started making this progress, I had an opportunity to take a job in Prague in the Czech Republic. Our kids were grown by this time, and so my wife and I set out on a new adventure and moved to Europe. So we're living in Prague. And while I was there, I happened to meet this man through a number of circumstances. We met, and his name is Don, and we've just become the best of friends. Even though I haven't lived in the Czech Republic for a long time now, and he still lives there, we still stay in touch. Don's a great guy, and we became the best of friends. And he was also in that same process of agonizing, trying to write a book, knew he had a book in him, knew he had some things that he wanted to say. And so the two of us, as a couple of wannabe amateur authors, would sort of talk about the writing process and our frustrations and encourage each other. And in the midst of that process, Don told me one day, he said, I'm getting my book published. I'm self-publishing my book on Amazon, and I don't know anything about how to do that, but I've got a friend. His name was Mark. He lived in Asheville, North Carolina, which is not far from where I lived in Knoxville, Tennessee. And Don said, this is a guy who just knows how to do everything. He just dabbles in a lot of different things. And one of the things that he has done is help people self-publish their books. And so he's going to help me, and I can introduce the two of you. And I said, great. So he introduced me to his friend, Mark. I've often joked that I had to move to the Czech Republic and live in Prague to meet a guy that lived 2 hours away from me in Asheville. But we talked. This was right around the time that COVID hit, and my job ended in the Czech Republic, and there was visa issues and a whole long story. So I came back to Knoxville, Tennessee, and began to work with Mark on publishing my book on Amazon. And he told me, I've got a nonprofit that I'm working with that he had helped found. And he said, you've got a lot of experience working with nonprofits. If you'll help me with this nonprofit, I'll publish your book and I won't even charge you. I'll self-publish this with you. And I'm like, great. So we started working together. And that's how the original self-published version of this came about. Is I moved to the Czech Republic, met Don, introduced me to Mark, and Mark got the thing up on Amazon. Now, when I did that, I didn't have this podcast. I think I had a Facebook, but I didn't have anything on it. I wasn't on social media. I knew absolutely nothing about promoting a book or publishing or anything like that. And so basically, I'm just selling this thing to my friends and family, which was nice. It was nice to make a little bit of money. I did a couple of speaking engagements and sold copies of my book there. And that was always just really fun to make a little bit of money selling a book, and more importantly, to get my message out to a few people, because I really, truly believe when I say love is the answer, I know that, I believe that, and I want to get that message out. So it felt good, even on a small scale, to get that message out to people. At the same time, I applied for a job as a ghostwriter because, hey, I'm a writer. And so I had a book and I wanted to write more. And I was wanting to write more books myself, but I was thrilled with the idea of helping other people write too. And so I applied for a job as a ghostwriter at a ghostwriting agency. The owner of the agency is named Maria. She's a great person, and we've become really good friends over the years. She hired me as a ghostwriter, even though I didn't have a lot of ghostwriting experience, actually none, but because I was a writer and because I was willing to learn, she was starting a new company. She said, I really want people that are willing to learn. I have a vision of what I want this company to be, and I want people that will work with me, not be stubborn with their own ideas, but help me build the vision that I see. And I said, I'm with you. I will do that. I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to be coached. And so she taught me how to be a great ghostwriter, and I'm really grateful for that. It's a lot of fun doing that. And I've helped a lot of people through that organization get their blogs, their articles, and their books out into the world, which is very fulfilling because there's some people out there that have great ideas, but just don't know how to put them on paper, or maybe they just don't have time to put them on paper. And I've been able to help them do that. It's a very rewarding job. But through that process, Maria bought my book. I didn't know she did. She ordered my book, she read it, and loved it. So one day we're having a meeting, and we're meeting by Zoom because it's all remote. And she's going over a new client, new book that we're writing. We're going over all the details of that. And at the end of that meeting, she said, I read your book, which I was very grateful to hear. And she said, I loved it, and it needs to be published on a wider level. More people need to see this book. She said, I happen to have a contact at Morgan James Publishing. Would you mind if I introduce you? I said, no, I would not mind that at all. That would be just fine. Thank you. I had no objection to that whatsoever. And so she introduced me to the founder of Morgan James, David Hancock, who had been the CEO. He was kind of moving out of the CEO, but was still very active at Morgan James Publishing as the founder, and still had a very active day-to-day role there, even though he was handing some of the CEO measures over to someone else. He took a meeting with me, and I was so intimidated. I was thinking, this is the founder of a publisher in New York City, and all I have is this one little book that I've self-published. But he's the nicest guy in the world, so kind to me. He read over all my materials, and he said, I love this. We want to be part of this, but I don't make the final decision. Yes, I'm the founder, but I don't make the final decision. It has to go through a committee. But I'm going to present your book to the committee, and I'll get back to you. I said, great, thank you. 2 days later, he emails me. He said, we're in. Morgan James Publishing wants to pick up your book. One of the greatest thrills of my life. This was back in August of 24. The book comes out June 10th of 25. The publishing process is a long road. There's a lot to do. We did some editing, had some creation of new edits. The people at Morgan James did an amazing job with their graphics department, redoing the cover. I have a brand new cover, which just looks amazing. I love it. They've done such a great job leading me through this process and teaching me not only about the publishing process, but the marketing process of the book and how to get this message out to the world. One of the ways that I have done that is not only through this podcast, but to also be a guest on a number of podcasts. I've taken many, many interviews in the last year on a lot of different podcasts. And on one podcast in particular, he said, I had another guest that I think you would really like to talk to. I think the two of you could really hit it off. And so he introduced me to Aiden, who is in Brazil. And he has a nonprofit. He's the leader of a nonprofit called The World's Greatest Experiment. Now, this is a fascinating thing. Aiden goes into places around the world, Pakistan, the Philippines. He's working to get into Africa and some places there. And he goes into some of the most impoverished areas in the world, and he finds children who are out begging, trying to get a little bit to help them in the midst of their poverty. And he teaches them, he takes them in and teaches them that they are of worth just because they are a human and capable of love, that love is powerful, that love means something, and they are of value because they are a person of love. And so he brings them on what he calls a love farm, where they're going to generate and grow love. And he teaches these kids meditation. In some cultures, he'll call it prayer, if that's appropriate. In others, he'll call it meditation. He teaches them how to meditate on love, to send this spiritual message of love around the world. And he gets corporate sponsors and private donors to donate to this world's greatest experiment. And he pays these children to lift their families out of poverty. He pays them for their time as they meditate. They keep track of the hours that they meditate on love. And he pays them so their families are no longer in poverty. They can buy the food, they can have shelter, they can go to school, they can do the things they need to do, lifting these families out of poverty out of love, because love itself is valuable and powerful. It's an amazing concept. And so we were talking about that. I was telling him about my book, and he said to me, what if we make your book the first book to live stream love as people read it? I said, that sounds pretty fascinating. That's an incredible thing. What would that look like? He said, we can have the children meditate on your readers, sending love to your readers through meditation as they read the book. He said, we could put a QR code in your book so that people can link to our organization and see the children meditating on love to the readers of Learning Love as they read it. It's an amazing concept. So what we have now is, as you buy this book, you will first have a practical guide to building the healthy relationships you want. It's a down-to-earth, easy to read, practical guide on building love as a learned skill set, building the relationships you want, the healthy, happy, thriving relationships that we all need. Even if you've come from a dysfunctional family, even if you've been through a divorce, even if your relationships have been a train wreck, you can develop the skills that you need to build healthy relationships, whether it be at home, with your spouse or your partner, with your children, but also with extended family, with your friends, with your co-workers. This is about learning principles and components of love that can be applied everywhere, at home, at work, in the community. It's about loving what you do for a living, loving your community, loving your nation, loving humanity, loving the planet, loving God. All these things come down to understanding what love is and how to live it out. And that's what I teach in the book. You can learn the practical principles of learning what love is and how to practice it. But as you read the book, there is also a mystic, spiritual component, as there are children around the world meditating, sending love to you on that mystic spiritual level, live streaming love as you read it. And part of my proceeds from your purchase of the book will go to this charity, to this nonprofit, the world's greatest experiment, so Aiden can go and pay these children, lifting their families out of poverty in this act of love. And so Learning Love, this book that I've worked on for years, that I've dreamed about publishing for years now, has taken on the full effect of love, the practical guide of learning what love is and how to practice it, the mystic spiritual side of love, having love on a meditative level brought to you from children around the world, and the charitable side of love. As part of the proceeds of this book will go to the world's greatest experiment, to lift these children in these nations, in these poverty-stricken areas, out of poverty, and give them what they need to build a good life. It is the full spectrum of love, and I'm just so excited to share it with you. And I hope that you will be a part of it, that you will order your copy if you haven't already, and be a part of not just learning about love, but receiving love on a meditative level and giving love through your purchase price, part of the proceeds going to this amazing world's greatest experiment. Now, through all of that, there's a life lesson. I didn't know any of these people when I started writing. I had no idea how to self-publish a book, much less get a publisher from New York City, a major publisher, to pick up my book and bring it to the world. I had no idea how to do any of that. I just started writing because I felt that call to write this message, to bring this learning to anyone who would read it. One of the things that we need to learn about relationships is a big part of it is just showing up. Just show up. Do what you can. If you feel a calling, do that. Do what you are able to do. Show up every day and doors open. You meet new people. If you want to make new friends, show up. If you want to have a better marriage, show up every day. It is so easy to live with someone and never actually talk to them because we get caught up in work and in school and in helping the kids with homework and the chores around the house, and we're not showing up in the relationship. We're doing a lot of stuff, but we're not showing up in the relationship. If we want to build a better community, show up. Get to know your neighbors. Get to know people. Now, you're not going to be friends with everybody. There's a lot of people I've met, hundreds of people I have met. And I've named off, 5 or 6 people in this story that are critical to the story. Everyone didn't help. I told a lot of people I'm writing a book, and some people didn't care. And some people actually kind of discouraged me along the way and said, how are you even going to get that published? I don't think you can get that done. And so there were people that weren't very helpful. That's okay. I found the people that were. Relationships are about showing up, meeting new people, having new experiences, just showing up in the relationships you have and showing up in your community and showing up in life and seeing who comes along. I did not know any of the people in this story when I started out, and they have been critical to my life. They've been critical to the publication of this book, and they have all become such great friends to me. And I am deeply grateful to all of them. No one does anything alone. All of life is about relationships. The subtitle of this book is Building a Life That Matters and Healthy Relationships That Last. And those are not two separate things. Those are two sides of the same road. When we build these healthy relationships, we have a life that matters. We matter in this world because love matters. Relationships matter. And when we matter, we are bringing that, our life, our best. When we're living our best life, we are bringing that to our relationships. It is all intertwined, two sides of the same road. Building a life that matters and healthy relationships that last carry us down the same direction of life. So show up. You never know who's going to come along. You never know who that next friend is going to be, what door will open, what message you might be able to share with the world, what good you might be able to do, and how you might be able to enrich the relationships in your own life you have now when you just show up. Do what you can. You don't have to know the end of the journey to start it. Just start and see where life will take you. That's my thoughts today as you work and we work to build that life that matters and healthy relationships that last. I hope you'll go to my website, markahicks.com, as this show airs on June the 9th. The book is coming out June the 10th. You can pre-order it and go to your favorite bookstore. Ask for it. If they don't have it, if they're not carrying it, ask them to order it for you. Pick up a copy of the book, and I know it will have an effect on your life. I want to thank my producer, Abby Graves of Abby Graves Production, for all of her great work. And thank you to you, as always, for listening. Until next week, love well, everyone.